Well, a superb opportunity for us to get the insight into this incredible track at Flemington with track manager Liam O'Keefe, who's been good enough to join us. Mate, wonderful to see you.
Thanks for having me, Richo.
It must be a huge thrill to oversee the preparation of this superb course. Take us through the amount of staff you've got involved to build up to something like Derby Day.
Yeah, big team of staff. We have 35 in total for the maintaining the tracks and also supervising the track work. So we have 600 horses utilise the training facilities every morning, and we have a team of 10 that supervise and manage that track work. And then on the tracks alone, which is the course proper and the 10 training surfaces, we have an additional 25 staff. So big team, but all really, really enthusiastic staff, and it makes my job a lot easier.
And also at the moment, just looking purely at the track, this time of the year during the winter, what are you hoping for? You're hoping for wet winters, or what sets you up the best to have the course pristine in spring?
Yeah, probably this winter we've had certainly above average rainfall. We've had more than triple the rainfall that we had year to date last year. So I guess you want a normal winter, but certainly you don't want rain on race day. If you get rain on race day, the track can chop out and can make the job of preparing the track for the next meeting more difficult. So I guess if you can get some good rainfall early in the week and then some fine days leading into the winter meetings, it's probably a good result.
Are you a racing man? Were you born and bred into racing, or is this you're more the horticultural side now into racing?
Probably more racing at the start. I was born and bred in Warrnambool, and obviously Warrnambool has the big May Carnival, so very much a racing town down there. During my VCE at school, had the opportunity to do some work at the Warrnambool Racing Club, so combined both a passion for turf and racing, and it started off from there as an apprentice. So probably more racing early on, but certainly have developed a love of turf since.
And I can remember you during the Warrnambool Carnivals. That must have been a little bit of pressure building up towards the May Carnival. Nothing like you do during Cup Week, of course, but with the deluge of rain and testing ground for the jumpers as opposed to the sprinters in a Wangoon.
Yeah, that's right. It's a great lead-in for a job like this, Richo. With you have a big carnival down there, 30,000 people across 3 days. So it's obviously on a mini scale compared to here, but you get to feel that pressure for a few carnivals and get to know what sort of conditions you have to work under. As you mentioned, jumps racing, so probably you prepare the track slightly different for them in that it's going to be a little bit softer and more forgiving. So you get to develop some good skill set on how to prepare and maintain tracks during cold, wet winters. And if you were to strike them up here, you're certainly in a good position to make decisions to ensure the track's going to be in excellent condition going forward.
Was that a leap of faith to put in an application to come and join the VRC?
Yeah, it was. It was probably something that had maybe been bubbling along a little bit, but certainly probably the biggest move was moving from the country, living there your whole life. It's 5 minutes to everywhere, and obviously moving to Melbourne, it's quite a bit of a change, but work's been terrific. I've settled in locally in the area and made some good friends, and actually really enjoy the Melbourne scene. Obviously, being a Western Bulldogs supporter, you can head along to the footy games, and I love music and that type of thing. So yeah, I'm certainly a Melbourne boy now.
What about Cup Carnival, your very first one when you're in control? A few nerves the night before?
Yeah, it's probably the most nerves were Cup Eve when we raced Derby Day and a good 4 upgrade to a good 3 went well. There was 2 to 12 mil forecast for Cup Day, and it needed about 5 mil. So we actually put a bit of water on to make sure the track wasn't too firm, and we got about 57 mil that morning, if you can remember. So that was certainly a very nerve-wracking day, but fortunately, again, with the work practices we have in place in around August time, we do a hollow time core on the track that opens the profile up and allows for any heavy rainfall events. And like Derby Day last year when it rained the whole day, we were able to continue to race right through. So we really backed our systems in place that we had leading up to the carnival, and unfortunately we got through well.
That Cup Day, that was remarkable. I think we went from a good 4, did we go back down to a heavy 8 or 9? And then somehow we got back up into the soft. How did that possibly happen?
Yeah, it was amazing. I honestly didn't think it would get back into the soft 6 range we got back to. So
Wow.
we went down to a heavy 8, and it was probably just the water sitting on the surface. If you remember that first race, spray from the jockeys, and just talking with the stewards on the day, on a normal day, Richo, we just would have waited for an hour, let the water soak in, the rain clears, and then off you go again. But with the agreements with race times and that type of thing at Carnival, the Cup had to be run at 3. So we had to keep pressing through. And fortunately, around race 4, the weather cleared and the track was able to absorb that rain with some breaks between races, and it improved from there. So, yeah, really, really it the works that we do during the year enable that track to drain well. And, it was a great carnival.
And with that came all sorts of pats on the back. But then we know with this social media world, if you get it wrong by 1 millimetre, they tend to come for you. Do you buy in at all to social media? Do you listen to what all the punters are saying?
So I'm not on it, Richo, just for the fact that, me going on there's probably like a footy umpire going on there. I couldn't see much sense in it because, you can probably get distracted from your job more than anything because everyone has their own opinion and that's fine. But I know the job I've got to do, and that's prepare the fairest, safest track that you can with the weather conditions or racing schedule that presents. So, it's great to get a pat on the back, but in this job you get a lot more kicks up the backside. So, best to stay off it.
I can imagine. I'm terrible at actually walking a track and actually understanding. Are you good at it now, as in walking a track and saying, gee, I tell you what, there'll be an advantage towards, say, lane 2 or lane 4 or further out? Can you actually really assess it now?
Yeah, you can, and it's something you get better at the more you do it. So we're very fortunate now that we use a going stick to rate the track, and previously it was a penetrometer, so you'd just drop a weight in the ground, so you wouldn't be actually poking or prodding the surface. But with the going stick, when you inspect the track every morning, you're actually pushing and poking an instrument in the ground. So that does give you a number which rates the surface hardness and the strength of the turf. But at the same time, you're getting a feeling of the track. So for rail placements and things like that, you're looking out for any compacted areas with machinery. But we try to offset all that during the week of spreading the machinery across the track so that no part of the track is actually driven on twice during the week. The entire width of the surface is driven on once. When we get to race day morning, we can hand on heart say that we've driven on this track completely evenly. It measures evenly, and if it doesn't early in the week, we want to do something about it so that we can level off the surface. But we don't want to do anything too close to the meeting because you can see that it can be perceived as playing around the surface. So I guess it's having those practices early in place and a good maintenance schedule that allows the track to be prepared and race evenly.
I used to be very strongly of the theory of just nail in the rail and let the jockeys find the right spot. And then track managers like you come out and show me the various wear, and it can be unsafe. Explain that to our punting audience, in particular of our VRC members who think, just leave the rail in the true and let the jockeys get to the right spot. Why don't you do that?
Yeah, it's probably the main reason is that after a race meeting, especially now that we're providing a little bit of extra given the turf and we've gone to 9 races, we have a lot of turf damage coming out of a meeting. So with the turf damage, if you were to just leave the rail there and race in 2 weeks' time, you'd probably get through most of the card before the horses got off the rail. But then probably for that 3rd meeting, the track would be that badly damaged, it would just literally come out in quite large clumps because the turf doesn't have sufficient time to recover, especially this time of year. So it would quite simply be dangerous for a horse to gallop on it after 15, 20 races. So probably a good example, Richo, is in the past with us being able to prepare good 3s back then, we're able to run Derby in true and Cup Day in true. Now the new policy and just trying to provide an extra bit of give in the track for the horses, I don't think we'll be able to get through 2 meetings to have the horse in safe enough condition. So, the track just simply gives way, and it's made to give way because that means that it's providing good give in the ground for the horses.
Yeah, and the reality is with such a big track at Flemington, unlike some other tracks, you can keep moving that rail and there's still plenty of room
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, very fortunate here to have a 30-metre wide track, and so we can keep moving the rail out and have large fields. So just on the weekend we had the rail out 11, track race well, and we're still able to host 14 horses in each race. So as long as when you move it out, it doesn't impact on field sizes too much or the way that the track plays, then it's certainly something that need to be done at times.
It seems a really tough task that you guys are asked to prepare a track in a good for the start of a race meeting with the ability to be upgraded. You've got to predict how much rain you're going to get. You've got to decide whether you're going to water the track, and if the rain arrives, then you've overwatered it, and if the rain doesn't arrive, you've underwatered it. How do you do that?
Yeah, it's tricky, because if you're relying on a weather forecast to get the track right, and the weather forecast is wrong, essentially you're going to be wrong. So as I mentioned before, that Cup Day was a prime example. The track needed 5 mil to be in that good 4 range, and the prediction was 2 to 12. So if you get the lower range of that, the track would have been a bit too firm later in the day, possibly when the Cup was run. So you weigh up your decision, you put 5 mil on the track, and all of a sudden you end up with 57. And even on the weekend was a great example. We had a weather forecast that wasn't great, 5 to 10 mil in the morning, and then up to 5 mil during the day. And we only received 2 millimetres in the morning. So if that was a meeting where you would need to put water on, and if you didn't, you would have got caught out because you didn't receive anywhere near the rainfall. So at some stage along the line, you've got to make the decision at 7 or 8 at night. I've came in and just sat around and waited for it to rain, and had the night shift staff on standby to water, and you've got to make it a call at a certain time, because at Flemington, we haven't got the luxury of watering in race morning because of track work. So the cut-off point to get 5 or 6 mil on is basically 6 or 7 o'clock at night. So there comes a time where you've got to make a call, and hopefully you get it right more often than wrong.
Leading into a race meeting, leading into Cup Week, are you sleeping at all? I can imagine you guys are working nearly 24/7.
Yeah, not much last carnival. What was it, the night before Derby Day? There was a lot of rain predicted Derby Day, and I didn't water the night before, and I needed a few mil, and I rang the bureau every hour on the hour, and I think I had 90 minutes sleep before Derby Day, and then had to out about a 13 or 14 hour day. So that was a long day, but thankfully it worked out in our favour that day. We received about 19 mil during the day, and we didn't water. So that was a good call, because had we watered and got that rain, it certainly would have raced a lot softer than it did.
What's the best part of your job?
Best part of the job, watching the horses on race day. That's we put a lot of time and effort in during to see especially the Flemington trained horses run so well in the big races like Vow and Declare. That was great. All the staff got a good kick out of that. And Winks, when she won the Turnbull Stakes here in 2018, that was quite a remarkable win from where she came from. So I guess those days are the days you treasure.
There's a gap for Winks. She's going to have to explode. Trap for Fools at the 200. Kings Will Dream back to the inside. Winks down the middle. Kings Will Dream at the 100. It's getting desperate. Now Winks is storming home. Winks over the top. Oh, she's too good. They can't beat her.
So when you're working along at Flemington in the morning and some horse walks past you and you go, gee, I like the look of that, and you watch it at work and you start to follow it, do you have a bit of an eye to the Flemington horses?
Yeah, you probably just wait for a trainer to throw you a bone every now and again. They keep their cards pretty close to their chest, but occasionally they give you one, and they're obviously very good judges. So try not to chase anything, because they might want a favour in return. So we've had a couple of good ones of late. Hopefully we'll get a few more.
What always strikes me with people who work at Flemington is they work there for a long, long time, mate. If you notice that, the amount of we had Mick Ryan and Mick Hurry are perfect examples. It seems like once you get into the VRC club, it's hard to leave.
Yeah, that's right. They're and it's same in racing too. Really, once you start in racing, not a lot of people sort of jump out of it if they're working in that racing side of a club. But yeah, great racing club. I've really enjoyed my time here, because they really care about their staff, and that makes your job a lot easier. So if you're having a bad day or you're under a lot of pressure, Neil Wilson and Lee Jordan have been terrific support. They understand the industry very well, and I've got a great team that work with me. So for the bad days, you have a lot more good days, and it's a tough industry, but we put our head down, we work hard, and we try to do the best for everyone.
How do you relax, mate? What do you do apart from following the Western Bulldogs? What else do you do?
I like to socialise with friends, have a beer, watch a live band. Obviously follow the Bulldogs. Love a day at the races. We've just got involved in owning a greyhound with the other track managers, so that's been a bit of fun. Fortunately, he won his first start last Sunday at Sandown, so that was good.
Right.
Just in Melbourne in general is always something to do, and certainly love to switch off, but certainly love tuning in the races at the same time.
What's the name of the greyhound and who got to name it?
Danny Thrills is her name. She was a tried greyhound in WA, and the former track manager at Sale is now full-time training, Matty Clark, and Marty Simon has teed up the syndicate. So, we're having a bit of fun there, and we might get a couple more along the way.
I can imagine. How are we looking towards this carnival, mate? So many restrictions, and fingers crossed we have, 30, 40, 50,000 people. Would just be amazing for us to be there for Cup Week. How's the track going?
Yeah, track's looking well. We've had a really, really good winter this year in that we've had average winter rainfall. The last few years have been quite dry, so plenty of moisture in the profile, and that'll enable us just to stay off the track a little bit more with irrigos and that type of thing leading into the spring, which is good. But we'll carry out our little mini renovation post Ori Star Stakes Day, do that hollow time coring to allow the track to breathe and to be able to soak up any heavy rainfall over the spring, and we'll oversail and verdi drain and then kick off on Mackay Davis Stakes Day again in mid-September, and then the spring carnival's around the corner. So it comes around very quick, but we'll certainly be prepared.
Mate, you're doing a brilliant job. The track is just playing superbly. Well done managing all those staff, mate. Just keep up the good work and keep up the passion for racing. We love what you're doing.
Thanks, Richo. I appreciate it.
Good on you.